I was scrolling and there was a guy on here who pretty much was saying, if for example you're an African American woman or you're a white woman that's married to an African man, until he does that traditional African wedding and for example takes you to Africa and you guys do that whole thing, the marriage it's not recognized. In the US it might be recognized, but in Africa it's not. You could literally go there and be like, I'm married to so and so, and they'll look at you like, girl, we don't recognize you. We don't know who you are. Because African weddings are very, very important. There's cultural things that you have to be done. There's steps to follow. So as somebody who's from East Africa, Kenya, I'm married to a Mexican man. I already spoke to my husband, like pretty much early on when we first kind of met. I was like, there's a whole thing that we have to do. And you have to take time to plan it out because it is costly. And sometimes, there's other things that you have to take care of first before you start working on that. So it's not something to be rushed, but you definitely have to do it because Africans are very superstitious and they believe that if you don't do things correctly, some things can happen to you. So there was a lady that went back with her husband's body and she went over there and they gave her a hard time because she was like, I'm so and so and that's my husband. We're married. And they were like, no, we don't recognize you. You're not married to who, And they literally could even see like pictures. They could see a ring on your finger. They could see paperwork. It's not enough. You have to literally signal to the village that you're married by performing certain ceremonies and certain things. So you have to follow that. That's why it's really important to do your research if you're marrying outside and to figure out what the steps are. What are the process that you need to do? Because if you don't do it right, a lot of people are always going to be like, oh, we know why things are happening in your family, this and that. It's because you never did that wedding, blah, 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 blah. So for example, one of the steps I remember is when my sister did it is she brought my brother-in-law who's from Congo to meet my dad. And he brought his brother. They sat down. They talked, and they were negotiating the price. The price is based on a lot of things. If the woman has no kids, if the woman is educated and all that. And they kind of go back and forth about the price, which a human cannot be bought. You cannot put a price on a human being. But pretty much that's what it is. It's a bride price, dowry payment. And then later on, my husband would, for example, when we do it, he would have to give cows to my dad. The more cows, the better. So all this stuff have to be done correctly and done right in order to, if you believe in, parents giving you blessings, these blessings are going to come because they're not going to be rolling down in their grave somewhere that you never did the wedding correctly. You never followed the procedures and all that, just kind of mad and you're not getting your blessings. So a lot of people in African cultures really try to do the steps correctly and do the right things, because you don't want to have any things coming up and people blaming it that it was because of that. So I just want to stress that if you are marrying outside, always